In this video, we will discuss how to create CanActivate root guards using canActivateFn. Angular provides canActivateFn to create canActivate root guard with functional approach. So first find out the Angular doc for the canActivateFn. We have two arguments: activated root snapshot and router state snapshot. We can use these two arguments to decide our canActivate guard. We should also know about the canActivate property of root interface that accepts the array of canActivateFn. CanActivate determines if the current user is allowed to activate the component or not. By default, any user can activate. So let's start to create canActivate root guards using canActivateFn. We have to create some injectable services for our root guard. I am creating a login service. This is injectable service, and in this class I have a method user canActivate that has the arguments activated root snapshot and router state snapshot. And this method checks whether user is logged in or not. If user is logged in, it returns true. Otherwise, it navigates to the login URL. Get login URL, and get login URL is login URL. Whether user is logged in or not, I am checking by this method, is user logged in, and here I am returning true or false hard coded for the demo purpose. So this is our user canActivate method. If this returns true, user can access that component, and if it returns false, user will not be able to access that component. Now I am creating the canActivateFn function. This is my function login canActivate, and in this function I am injecting login service using inject method, and then calling its user canActivate method and passing the parameter root and state. In this way, login canActivate is a function that will decide whether user can activate that path or not. Now let us configure it with our rules. I have a path book detail that will open book component, but I am applying the root guards, canActivate root guards, if user is logged in, only when the user can access book component. So use the canActivate property of the root interface and assign array of canActivateFn. If you have more than one canActivateFn functions, you have to assign here as an array. So when we access book detail, first canActivate root guard will check whether login canActivate function returns true or false. And this path has no root guard, so it will be accessible for every user. So I have two paths, book detail and writer detail. In my login service, I have set user logged in is false, means user is not logged in. Book detail canActivate guard is applied on book details. User is not logged in, so it should go to login page. How does it happen? We go to the login canActivate function, and here we have to go to login service user canActivate method, and this is deciding whether user is logged in or not. And as I have said, is hard coded that user is not logged in, so we will not be able to access that path. Now I am setting it true, means user is logged in. In this case, login canActivate function will return true, and we will be able to access book component. Within book component, I am doing nothing. I am just printing some data, and as an HTML I am printing as book component. So we will get the message only book component. So now let's access our book detail path. Now we can see that we are able to access book component, and we have not been forwarded to login component. As, as we have discussed that canActivate can accept an array of canActivateFn. Suppose I have one more functional canActivateFn function. If you want to decide whether user can activate that component or not using two canActivateFn function, then pass them as an array. Right now I have two canActivateFn function, login canActivate and user canActivate. Now user will be able to access book component only when if both function login canActivate and user canActivate both will return true. Let's see the demo. Login canActivate is saying that user is logged in, true. And in another function, is user active? I have set false. And I am just returning by this method, by this function, user canActivate. It is just checking whether user is active or not. I have set hard coded as false that user is not active, but user is logged in. Look, This function will return that user is logged in, and this function will return that user is not active. It means this one will return false and this one will return true. Login CanActivate is returning true and user CanActivate is returning false. We will not be able to access book component because any one of them returns false, then CanActivate will not activate that path to visit. Now let's make user active. Now both function will be able to return true. So we are able to access. Once I will show again that if it is false, and login service is returning true, means user CanActivate is returning true, and in user service user CanActivate is returning false. It means by this function I am getting true and by this function I am getting false, and we will not be able to access book component, but we will also not be redirected to login page because login CanActivate is returning true. We just will not be able to access that link. Look, we cannot go to this path, but we are also not being redirected to login page because login service is returning true, but user is not active. So in this way we can use more than one canActivateFn functions. To avoid this code, we can use mapToCanActivate. mapToCanActivate maps an array of injectable classes with canActivate function to an array of equivalent canActivateFn. To use mapToCanActivate, we have to care one thing, that login service and user service both must have the method name as canActivate. Now we have to make it canActivate. This change is needed. When we use mapToCanActivate, it enforces us to pass the injectable services and it must have a method canActivate. And on their boolean return value, canActivate will decide whether the user can activate that path or not. So mapToCanActivate can be used directly with the injectable services, and these injectable services must have a canActivate method. Let's check it. This time canActivate in user service is returning false, and in login service canActivate is returning true. User will not be able to access that path, but will also not be redirected to login page. Okay. Now let's make it active. User is active, but user is not logged in. Now user will be redirected to login page. Okay. And we will be able to access that component only when both injectable services and their method canActivate returns true. This is also returning true. User service is also returning true, and login service is also returning true. Their method canActivate. Their method canActivates are returning true in both cases. In this case, we will be able to access the book component. Login service and user service. Okay, that's working. Okay, thanks.